The T-800 Terminator. A predecessor to the T-600, the T-800 was the perfect infiltrating machine against the Resistance. What makes the T-800 so terrifying is its ability to be outfitted with real organic living tissues that can replicate flesh and blood, unlike its predecessor the T-600, which was outfitted with fake rubber-like skin. Not only that, but the endoskeleton underneath that flesh and blood alone instills fear into its victims, haunting and intimidating. Its movements and animation also very terrifying. Alright guys, so the T-800. Why do I believe that this potential killer machine should come to Dead by Daylight? Well, really for one particular reason alone. This machine is capable of doing nothing but to kill. It was programmed to do nothing but kill all human life, all human existence. Going just somewhat into the Terminator lore, the machines, the AI itself, became self-aware, Skynet as it's called, and thought that humanity was a threat to its own existence, so therefore it built Terminators to destroy humanity. At least that is the overall lore of the Terminator franchise. And so, you know, you had a different amount of Terminators that were built before the T-800. It had many predecessors to perfect its infiltrating capabilities. You know, it started off with, I believe, and you know, I'm no Terminator lore guy by any means. I don't really watch it too much per se, but I'm interested in it enough that where I was fascinated with the T-800. But I believe the very first Terminator was the T-47, if I'm not mistaken. And then as time went on, you know, I think you had the T-400, the T-500, 600, and each Terminator that would come out would be just that much better at infiltrating. I would say the T-600 is definitely where it picked up. And the T-600 was basically like the T-800, only the T-800 was every way better than the T-600 in terms of its infiltrating capabilities, because, you know, the T-600, as mentioned, had rubber-like skin, whereas the T-800 has authentic, real, organic flesh and blood. It can even sweat. It can emulate everything that a human can do. Now, how would you put the T-800 in Dead by Daylight? This is where it kind of becomes a little hard. I'm no game designer, game programmer, things like that, but I believe if, you know, a lot of people are asking for something that could mimic Survivors, I don't think that'll ever come to Dead by Daylight, but I believe the T-600 would be the perfect candidate to basically be the perfect mimic to infiltrate the Survivors. Now, that's a pretty cool game mechanic if I didn't think, but of course we have things like Discord, so if you're playing against a SWAF group, you know, it would be very easy to pinpoint the killer and, you know, be like, hey bro, is that you? Because you're coming up on this generator kind of thing, you know. And so that could really be a downside to a power-up ability for the T-800 if he was able to basically clone himself, flesh and blood himself as maybe a Dwight or something like that. Would be really cool. But I don't see that working. And the other problem is with the T-800 is that the T-800 is his physique, the physique of the endoskeleton itself, is meant to be for a male type character rather than female. So the T-800 was built for male physique, and so you couldn't really make a T-800 for a female. That was where the X100 or whatever it was from Terminator 3, that would be the female equivalent of a Terminator. And obviously I don't think they're going to have different skins because that Terminator had different abilities. So I think what they should just do, instead of trying to make it a mimic type thing, maybe have its power up, maybe it throws you around, because if we know a lot from a lot of the movies, the T-800 loves to throw its victims around. But the overall, I don't know, I think the overall feel of the T-800, its intimidating look, the fact that it looks a lot like a skeleton resemblance of the human anatomy alone, I believe, is why I believe the T-800 should come to Dead by Daylight. I've always thought it was the scariest thing in terms of sci-fi, when if you look at just Terminator 1 alone, if you look at the very first Terminator movie and how creepy it was when it lost, Arnold lost all of his skin off of his endoskeleton, and you saw this crazy looking machine that resembled a skeleton coming out of the fire, and then chasing down both Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese into that factory. It was pretty terrifying. I would say for horror sci-fi, the first Terminator is definitely where it did it. Just throwing out all the other movies, mind you, like Terminator 2 wasn't at all that intimidating or scary, because it was more action-packed than I would say Terminator 1, because Terminator 1 had more of a horror theme behind it. Um, so yeah, you could also have potential skins too for the T-800. You can have maybe an Arnold skin where he actually looks kind of like he did in the very beginning of the film, where he takes the punk rock outfit and puts on the punk rock outfit. I think that would be a really cool, nice touch to the T-800 as a skin, and maybe even where his eye gets a little damaged and you can see his eyeball coming out, and maybe where he was adjusting his arm in the first movie, where he had part of his flesh ripped out to make adjustments to his arm because it got damaged. I think that would be a really cool skin. So there's a lot of potential with the T-800. Like I said, I don't know what his power-up would be. I don't really go too much into the programming aspect, but I mean, I think it can happen, and I would be very terrified to see the T-800 in Dead by Daylight, in my own personal opinion. I know a lot of my Discord buddies think otherwise. They don't think that the T-800 is all that scary and shouldn't really belong in Dead by Daylight, but I'd like to think otherwise, only because I see it through the lens of just the first movie alone, towards the ending of that first movie. And Behavior actually already owns the license for the Terminator franchise. It's just whether or not they can get the license again to do it in Dead by Daylight. Again, I don't know how all the legal mumbo jumbo works with all that, but Behavior owns the Terminator license within Death Garden, and rest in peace to that game, because it's going to be shut down soon, which is a shame because I think that game is actually a pretty decent game. But they actually have the T-800 as a playable hunter in Death Garden, and I believe now with its departure that they could probably bring over the license to Dead by Daylight, and I think it would be very easy transition for them to do. They would just have to talk about swapping the rights over to a different video game of theirs. So I don't know, maybe that's something that they can talk about and things like that, but that's just my own thoughts and opinions on why I think the T-800 should come to Dead by Daylight. Just honestly, it's just based off of his physical appearance alone. I believe that they could make this a very intimidating killer, in my opinion. I just don't know what his overall powers could be, and that's where I would probably leave it up to you guys, what you guys think his powers should be for the T-800. Maybe I think maybe one he can do is he has the ability to go into Terminator mode, where he can see auras of everybody, and it goes into that red mode where he can see like everything on the map, where generators are, where survivors are, and things like that. Like, that would be so cool. To an extent, though, not like fully extreme where you can see everything, but within like a certain meter range, I would say. So like within 32 meters, maybe if he uses Terminator mode, he can see if anybody's hiding behind a rock or something. At the same time, though, that kind of kills the whole hiding aspect, because you're always supposed to be able to hide from the killer, and killers like the Doctor prevent things like that heavily, I would say. So that's just one idea. Maybe you guys have a different idea what the Terminator's ability would be. I think another one could be that he can throw you. Like, he could be able to pick you up and maybe throw you and down you, or either put you in maybe like a men state, something like that. I'm not really entirely sure, because I know the T-800 is, like I said, he loves throwing his victims around. So anyways, I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions on what you think with the T-800 coming to Dead by Daylight. I really hope to see this as a potential killer, and I think it's more so possible now with the departure of Death Garden, and with that license just kind of floating up in the air now for Behavior. I think they could do this. I think they really could. I don't know what a survivor would really be. Maybe the survivor could be Kyle Reese, maybe, or Sarah Connor. Again, they would have to get the licensing rights to use them, of course, but I could see them being potential candidates for the franchise, or even John Connor, for matter of fact. So, yeah, guys, I'll be covering the new Oni DLC coming out tomorrow, so if you want to catch me playing it tomorrow, I will definitely be purchasing it and playing it tomorrow. I'm going to try to hurry up and get through it as quick as possible, because I have a lot planned tomorrow, and plus Halo Reach is big day tomorrow. Halo Reach launches tomorrow, and I would like to be able to play that a little bit, and then I got some homework to do, so it's going to be a really busy day. Alright guys, I hope to catch you in the next video, and I will see you later. Peace out.